Okay, so we're going to talk about slope. Before we talk about differential equation, let's talk about slope. Slope is what we learned in Algebra 1, and that's something very, very important because we put a lot of emphasis on slope in Algebra 1 because we kind of build a foundation all the way to calculus. Um, it can also mean slope, it can also mean gradient. Now, normally you guys never hear a term called gradient. Now in Calc 3, you're probably gonna hear a little bit more rather than Calc 1 in AP Calc. But you also can be named gradient, especially if you are in a school where the IB students, they're gonna talk about gradient a lot more than AP students. If you take in IB, HL math or SL math, then you're gonna speak of gradients as opposed of slopes. But you also supposed to recognize each one is equal to each other. You also need to recognize rate of change. Rate of change can be also be mean slope. It's equal to f prime of x. That's another common one, which is the derivative of a function, or y prime. Y prime is gonna be means exactly the same thing, but everything else they're all equal to the last thing. It's called dy dx. So when they say on your MCQ says there was a rate of change equal to y over x and find the differential equation, that just means dy dx is equal to y over x. Or sometimes they can say rate of change is equal to that. That just means that. Now, how do you find differential equation? Now, the things about differential equation is usually they will say find general solution or find differential equation. So they usually have something like that. So I have these questions that I don't need you to find a general solutions. I need you to find general solution. Sorry. Um, and you're like, wait, how do I do this? You got dy dx equal to xy over x squared plus 4. Now, just understand differential equations, you just have to integrate something. But before you integrate, you must make sure a couple things. One is dy and dx must be on numerator. Numerator. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing, y has to go with dy, y with dy, and x with dx. Okay, so that's pretty much two things I have to make sure. So that two things can cause you to do something called separation of variables. If I want to separate this, then that's going to give you dy. What happened is I'm going to multiply dx on both sides. Does that make sense? I always move the dx to the right side. So if I multiply dx on both sides, I'm going to do dy equal to xy over x squared plus 4 dx. Now, is my dy on numerator? Is my dx on numerator? Yes. Now, what do? Y has to go with dy, x has to go with dx. What are you supposed to do on both sides? Divide by y. Just get rid of y, right? So if I divide by y, so it's going to be dy over y is equal to x over x squared plus 4 dx. Now you integrate. Now some people is going to say, well, what's the integration of dy over y? What? You are absolutely right. And you're going to be like, hey, do I need a plus c here? Now, the thing is, you don't need a plus c. You don't need a plus c here. The reason why you have plus c on the left-hand side, you also have plus c on the right-hand side, which is going to derive on the right-hand side. So what's the integration of x over x squared plus 4? That was fast. That was fast. Good job. How do you know it's ln though? Yep. Excellent. The speed is very, 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 very uh, efficient. So du is equal to 2x dx. Now, if you also see this is a 1 degree difference, if you see the 1 degree difference, it actually has to be natural log. Or the relationship of numerator and denominator is one differential derivative away, then that's the way to think about it. So you got du over 2x equal to dx. So integration of ux and this du over 2x, x cancel out. ln of y is equal to 1/2 ln of u plus c. And that u is equal to what? X squared plus 4, right? What do I do next to get y by itself? Yeah, but if you do that, you got to be careful. If you do e to the both side, you can technically knock out both natural log, right? So you got natural log on the left hand side, you got natural log on the right hand side. You can actually knock both of them out. But the problem is you cannot do e to the 1/2 ln of x squared plus 4 and expect to cancel out. Do you see what I'm saying? E to the natural log of y is equal to e to the 1/2 of natural log of x squared plus 4 and then plus c, right? But the problem is this 1/2 here, you cannot cancel out. So what do you have to do first? Becomes the exponents, right? Can I do this? Now, before you cancel out anything, I want you also pay attention to the plus c part. Now, you realize that plus c becomes the exponent. Now, also memorize this rule. This is called the exponential rule. Is a to the m times a to the n equal to a to the m plus n. Now, the problem is I want you to go backwards. So, in this case, it's going to give you y. E to the c, did you say? Did you see? Times e to the ln, where that's going to happen to cancel out. So it'll be x squared plus 4 to the 1/2 power. So far confusing? No? Okay. Tomorrow you're going to have to use this tomorrow. No. The homework is going to be about with it. E to the c is also known as, well, e to the c, that means I have e to the constant. So that still would be constant, right? So I'm going to call that y equal to c square root x squared plus 4. So this is called a general solution. If a general solution, it doesn't evaluate for c. Okay, so this is a general solution. A lot of time they don't ask you general solution. They will ask you particular solution or differential equation, but they give you initial condition. If they give you initial condition, you need to go plug in to solve for c. Yes?
Why would you not have plus c on the L and y side?
Oh, yes. Remember, you have plus c on the left side, and you got plus c on the right side. Can I move the c over to the other side? So it didn't. I don't really care. It's just I just need to worry about the initial condition at the end. What happened to the final c is going to be. I don't need to worry about 2c. Also, c times 2 is still c. C divided by 2 is c. So we're gonna also talk about that in a second. So c there is a c on the left hand side. Let's just say c is 2 on the left hand side and c is equal to 3 on the right hand side. So it still end up to be like just combine those, just become 3. But c is really depends on your initial conditions. So we're going to talk about next example where you have initial conditions and why it's simple math matters. So I'm going to do is this is your homework, but I'm going to start with the first question. The first question is kind of different than the prior one. But can you do the separation of variable side first? An initial condition I will tell you in a second. So let's just separate the variable. Learn how to separate the variables. So on AP exam, separation variable is just a very easy process to organize dx and dy on numerator and make sure dx with x and dy with y. That's going to give you 1 point. That's the easiest 1 point. You don't have to know calculus. You have to know is algebra 1. So again, they say what? Solve for y. Again, they can say find differential equation, find general solution, find particular solution. They all mean the same exact thing. Okay, so I'm gonna help you here. What do I do first? Multiply by dx. So it'll be dy equal to x minus 3 over y dx. Now it's x with the x and y with the y. What do? Multiply by y on both sides, right? Now what do I do? Integrate on both sides? What's the integration of y? Over 2. It's equal to x squared over 2 minus 3x plus c, right? General solution is solving for y. So how do I get y by itself? Multiply by 2. Now be careful when you multiply by 2. Okay? So here you have to be careful because the y squared, x squared minus 6x. So far I multiply everything by 2. What happened to the c? Just stay as c. It don't become 2c. Just becomes just c. Square root both sides. You're going to get plus minus of x squared minus 6x plus c. Now, why is plus minus important? Well, it's important because that's a basic algebra. And some of you guys are taking SAT soon, I think, right? When's the SAT? Wednesday? Yeah, so SAT is Wednesday, so you have to remember the plus minus, right? And then, so why is that important? Look at your initial condition. -5, right? Is equal to plus minus 2 squared minus 6 times 2 plus c. Well, I can also say that's equal to, has to be negative. It cannot be positive side. 4 minus 8 plus c. Does that make sense? It has to be stay with the negative side, not the positive side. Because if you just positive square root, it's not going to give you a negative value. Yes. Yeah, I can add. That's 12. Um, so can I square both sides? And you're going to say square both sides. It doesn't matter anymore. It does. Sorry, this one square root is gone. And the c is equal to what? 33, right? So c equal to 33. Now, when I go back to rewrite the questions, it has to be this. It cannot be net. It cannot be positive. Because your initial condition is at -5 when you plug in the 2. So therefore, it has to be negative square root, not the positive square root, because the positive square root is not going to give you negative values. Do you understand? Questions?
What's the negative in front of the square root?
It has to be negative because the initial condition is -5 when x is equal to 2. But if you plug in let's say 2 in there, you're gonna get +5. You're not gonna get -5. So therefore, it has to be negative version of the square root in order to work. The positive version of square root. Imagine you have positive side here. Imagine you just worry about it's a positive side here. If I plug in 2 inside, it's not gonna get you -5. It has to be a negative version of radical in order for you to get -5. That's why you plus minus, you have to decide it's a plus or minus at the end. Now this is a little bit harder questions. I want you to do number 2. And your homework is everything, so I already posted and also post the answers as well. Number 3 is a little bit harder because with differential equation, but with use substitutions. Make sure you still have to use substitutions.
So yeah, wouldn't C be negative?
C will be positive.
Because if you, the negative sign, it should be -8 minus C.
Yeah, -8 plus C. So I'm gonna move that -8 to the other side, so you go to 33.
Wouldn't it be -8 minus C?
A plus C. It's always plus C. Oh, you mean that negative sign is gonna distribute? No. If you square both sides, then that becomes both positive.
Something to eat because Sarah's not feeling well.
Cool.
Sarah.
Yeah. You want to go no lower?
I'm really
There's a whole bag. You gotta do the question too. Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah. But I want you to do a second question. Sorry. And also post the answers too.